Well, a very, very happy Friday morning to everyone, and welcome to the John Kentera Show on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Glad you could join me. Wow, since Wednesday, a lot of things have gone on with our San Diego Padres. And if you're just tuning in for the first time, we do a podcast Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 o'clock. And we're going to do it until about the middle of December, and then we're going to take a couple of weeks off during the holiday, and then we'll come back in early January on January 5th. That's the way we're going to do it. It's kind of the way I did it in radio. I'd go up to the holidays and would take a little time off and watch all the bowl games, do all that good stuff. So we'll take some time off after the baseball winter meetings. We'll kind of gauge what day we're going to start taking off, but right now, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then a little time off in December, back on January 5th. And of course, I'm always available on X or Facebook. You can always get a hold of me. And I got to be honest with you, I have gotten so many messages since yesterday. And I'm going to read the press release from the Padres yesterday. And I'm going to tell you right now, this was not written by John Seidler. It was not written by anyone with the Padre organization. They hired a PR firm to send out this press release yesterday morning. I got it at 9:04. And we've got a lot to unpack. We got Bernie Wilson coming up here shortly, a longtime writer for the Associated Press, now working as a freelance writer, but a man in the know. And he'll be able to shed some light from his perspective on what's going on with this organization. But if you missed it yesterday, and you've heard the Padres now strategically, they're going to look at things and possible sell. They're selling the ball club. And I said this from the get-go. And by the way, today is the day 2 years ago that we lost Peter Seidler, the chairman and principal owner of the San Diego Padres. Peter passed away 2 years ago today. And I said, really, from shortly after Peter's passing, I told a lot of people, and I mentioned it a little bit on the radio, but privately, I said, you know what, within 2 to 3 years, they're going to sell this franchise. Well, one day shy of 2 years of Peter's passing, they make an announcement that strategically they're going to look into things and a possible sale of the team. They're selling it. And if you don't have both feet in 100%, get out. Even when you do have 2 feet in 100%, very difficult to run any type of sports franchise. Now, I want to read this thing that was sent out yesterday, and I've gotten a lot of information over the last 23 hours or so. And I want to share some of this stuff with you today. And then we're going to get to Bernie. Bernie, I'm sure, is going to have a lot to add to our conversation because I got some questions for Bernie as well. But I want to read this. I received it again yesterday at 9:04. The headline, Seidler family to explore strategic options for the San Diego Padres. The Seidler family today announced that it has decided to initiate a formal process to explore strategic options for the San Diego Padres, including a potential sale of the franchise. This decision follows months of careful consideration and consultation with trusted advisors. John Seidler, the chairman of the San Diego Padres, said, the family has decided to begin a process of evaluating our future with the Padres, including a potential sale of the franchise. We will undertake this process with integrity and professionalism in a way that honors Peter's legacy and love for the Padres and lays the foundation for the franchise's long-term success. During the process, as we prepare for the 2026 season, the Padres will continue to focus on its players, employees, fans, and community while putting every resource into winning a World Series championship. We remain fully committed to this team, its fans, and the San Diego County community. Then it goes on to say the club has engaged BDT, and MSD Partners, a trusted advisor to families and founder led businesses, to guide this process. The firm will oversee the process to ensure that it is conducted in a disciplined and professional manner. The Seidler family and the Padres do not intend to comment further until the process has concluded. Well, I will say this. I'm glad they're selling. I think right now, this franchise, in my opinion, on the business end, even though they're packing the stadium and you fans have been absolutely unbelievable, I think this franchise on the business end has been a little bit rudderless because we haven't heard from John Seidler, aside from 2 or 3 things that have been sent out via the media from their PR group and their PR folks with the ball club. We haven't heard from this guy. I mean, he did like a half inning interview with Donna Ursillo and Mark Grant, and I guarantee you those guys were given the questions to ask him. Guarantee you that. I mean, we need to move on here and get an owner in here that wants to win ball games. Peter Seidler did a hell of a job. Ron Fowler did a great job until he moved out of the organization in 2020. But it's time to move on. And I really think right now, and I'll ask Bernie Wilson this in a minute, I really think there is a really big division right now. And the sign has been a sign has been drawn in the sand that there's a business end and there's a baseball end, and I'm not sure they're on the same page. I'm not sure they're on the same page at all. And I want to go through a couple of things, then we're going to get to Bernie. First of all, back on February 25th, and they knew they were selling this team, okay? This thing, well, this came out of nowhere. This didn't come out of nowhere. They've been planning this. And go back to February of 2025. Eric Grupner, the CEO, says the team's not for sale. The Seidler family wants to have it. It's a generational asset. All well and good, okay? But now the team is up for sale. I'm going to tell you this. They're not moving out of San Diego. There's no way. San Diego has too many things to offer. Name you fans. You fans have been amazing. Packing Monday nights, Tuesday nights, 43,000 plus. Whether you're counting Gallagher Square or not, you fans have been amazing. The fans are the true MVP of this franchise. And that's even with exorbitant costs. And now they're going up again. They've raised it, 53% ticket prices in the last 5 years. That's amazing that they keep bringing people in. And, it's not been a good offseason at all. Mike Schilt retires. He got fired, okay? I'm telling you that. And somebody said, well, do I have info? Yeah, I do have inside information. I got it from 2 very good sources. He got fired. He didn't retire. They made it look like he retired so he wouldn't look bad because that happened in St. Louis. Then we find out that he wasn't nice. He wasn't playing nice with certain people, whatever. Okay, he got fired. Yu Darvish, UCLA brace surgery, out 12 to 15 months. Michael King opts out of his mutual option of $15 million, gets 3.75 to go bye-bye. Robert Suarez opts out of his contract for 2 seasons, $8 million per season, $16 million total. Padres continue, and I don't know if he'll get one now, but the Padres continue to drag their feet on a contract extension for AJ Preller. I mean, this is a joke. I mean, Eric Grupner got this like double secret contract through 2029. And, Eric Grupner, I guess, has a partial stake in the ball club, a small minority stake. And that's great. I'm sure he's worked hard and, done what he's needed to do to make Mr. Seidler and the Seidler brothers happy. But if it weren't for AJ Preller bringing in good ball players and winning ball games, the fans wouldn't be coming. You'd be not selling a lot of hamburgers and hot dogs, and people wouldn't be packing the ballpark unless you put a winning product on the field. And Preller right now is probably wondering as he comes back from the meetings over in Las Vegas, what the hell's going on? I mean, this contract should have been a slam dunk. He represents himself. He's worked for the organization for over a decade now. He's gotten the ball club to back-to-back playoff appearances. First time in franchise history they've won 90-plus games 2 years in a row. And they're dragging their feet. And now they should have given him a contract extension before they hired Craig Stammen as the manager. And, Craig Stammen, let me ask you this. Did they tell Craig Stammen before he accepted the job and had the press conference on Monday? Did they tell him that they were planning on selling the ball club? Or was yesterday Craig Stammen and his wife blindsided by the announcement that the Padres are going to look at things strategically with a possible sale of the ball club. Now, if they did that, they knew a week ago, they knew months ago they were going to sell this ball club. You've got to hold that conversation with your general manager and the president of baseball operations, AJ Preller. I don't know if AJ knew. It seems like to me there's been a line drawn in the sand between the business end and the baseball end. And I don't know if AJ knew. I don't know if Craig Stammen knew until he found out from the press release yesterday. And then here's the kicker, folks. I was made aware this morning about, I guess it must have been about 7:10, that Shield Seidler, who owns 24% through the trust of the San Diego Padres, was made aware that this announcement was coming down just minutes before it came down. So I know there's a lot of damage control being done by the San Diego Padres business side right now. Okay, talk show hosts on 97.3 The Fan, or, I think they've been given their marching orders from what I've been told. I know that the Padres, whenever they don't like, they didn't do this with me, but I know they've done it with a lot of the talk show hosts over there. If they hear something that they don't like, they get on the phone and they talk to management over there and give these guys the what for. And that's been going on for a long period of time. And they had that big meeting last year, just prior to the holidays, and they got the marching orders on, hey, this is how you got to handle things. So those guys are, that's a tough way to work. One thing I can say in all the years I was on Sports Talk Radio, nobody ever told me what to say, whether it was the Charger management, Padre management, Aztecs. We were free to say whatever the hell we were. We were held accountable, and you better have good information. That's why I always was honest as the day was long. But that's what I'm telling you right now. Okay, I got so many questions for this guy. And we're going to get out to our buddy, Bernie Wilson. And Bernie, welcome to the program this morning. I got to laugh a little bit because you and I have been through this numerous times over the years. And I want to ask you right from the get-go, do you think there is a line that's been drawn in the sand between the business side of the Padres and the baseball side?
Hey, Coach. Good morning from El Cajon before we get blown off the face of the earth. I think the line between them has been obliterated. I get the sense that Eric Greupner is trying to consolidate power at the top. I don't, that's just my sense. I mean, you just don't know these, private family, whatever companies. I don't think there's much of a line. Greupner's at everything. He's the team president, but he's at every press conference and at every ceremony at home plate. He's everywhere. He's making money. Yeah, there are losses. There's debt, but on game day, that franchise prints money. We've had this conversation before. It's a cashless venue, but they're still printing money. I think there's less and less of a line between the two sides. And that's why and you raise a good point, why hasn't Preller been extended? If Preller isn't extended or gets fired or walks away from this, who knows? I mean, this could get ugly. Another regime change could set this franchise back. There's players and, the pitching guru and this and that, but, if maybe they want Preller out, but if Preller doesn't get an extension, then whoever survives this thing, they're going to want their own person anyway. If Greupner survives, he may want to, run the whole franchise. I don't know. That's the bad thing about sales. When teams are sold, be prepared for major changes. And one thing that popped into mind while you were delivering your very well thought out opening. It's funny how the second and third generations of families ruin things when they own sports franchises. We saw it here with a certain NFL team where the patriarch made them fortune, bought the team. Second generation comes in. A lot of team owners these days, if they're the second generation or third generation, their dad made the fortune, bought the team. The second generation, their resume could be very simple. Member, Lucky Sperm Club. They've inherited it. They've grown up in it. The disappointing thing about this is the Seidler family is part of the third generation of a legendary baseball family. The O'Malley family that, had the Dodgers in Brooklyn, moved them to Los Angeles, and then Peter O'Malley took over. I think I'm getting my O'Malley straight.
You are.
The family tree ran the team until I believe 98, and they sold the Dodgers because of, I believe, estate planning thing, those things that always get in the way. And Peter Seidler talked often about growing up in that family, selling programs at Dodger Stadium, working in the publicity office, spring training at Dodger Town in Vero Beach, all these great memories. And now here they come. Peter sadly passes and everything falls apart. I haven't had a decent feeling, not that I should. When I was with AP, I really didn't care about their business because you're supposed to be neutral, objective, middle of the road. But I tell you what, man, let's say, so Peter passed in November, 2 years ago today, 23.
That's 2 years ago today.
Even by the 2024 season, the feeling down there, it was starting to move away from the family-owned atmosphere that, you felt under Peter. You saw Peter all the time. He was down on the field. He was there for batting practice. He wandered around and talked to fans. He talked to players. He would go over to the other side, because again, he spent most of his baseball life began as a child with the Dodgers. Like I think I've told you, he introduced me to Reggie Jackson one day, and then I in turn was able to introduce Reggie Jackson to my son Mike, who, was helping me run quotes one summer, and while he was at UCLA, and that's the kind of guy Peter was. You saw him all the time. He was, walking around there one day with Paul Ryan, the former Speaker of the House? It was probably a business thing, because Peter had Seidler equity. So he had the family business where he made a lot of money. But, he was showing the former Speaker of the House around Petco Park. There's probably some business thing underfoot, but that was the kind of guy. You saw him all the time. I retired at the right time because the first Monday after I retired was the day that Shield filed the lawsuit. But even before then, you notice the lack of a family feel. And a couple of us also noticed that things are sort of turning toward that Charger arrogance. I mean, you got a full blast of that when the Chargers were here. This was a football town. There's no denying it. But their arrogance, their sense of entitlement was off the chart. It wasn't that bad with the Padres, but you just got that sense, that, hey, this is starting to feel sort of Charger-esque, which wasn't good. But anyway, so here we are, the third generation of the O'Malley family, and it looks like this whole thing that Peter built is going to get blown apart.
Bernie, I was on this morning on KUSI with Lauren Finney, and she asked me a question, and I want your opinion on this. She asked me the question, who's running the Padres? And I think who's running the Padres, John Seidler has no clue on what's going on with Major League Baseball. Okay, he was just appointed because he's a family member. I think Eric Katsenda, who was the original interim chairman, I think him and Eric Grupner are running the Padres right now. I don't think John Seidler, he may be involved in the meetings, but he's not making any decisions, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm pretty sure those two are. And whether it's by choice or design, Eric Casenda has been kept at arm's length. And it's not just the media. People say John Seidler never addressed the media. Well, he hasn't addressed the fans because he addressed the fans through the media. So, it's the fans who have been denied as much as the media. I had to go up and introduce myself to Eric Katsenda at Peter's Celebration of Life. I never did meet John Seidler, and I covered the team for a year full time before retiring. Although I freelanced most of the games this year, so I was at the ballpark almost every home game. It's probably the Eric and Eric show. Maybe they could form a band. There's a band in the 80s, Dave and Dave, or something like that. But anyway, I'm sure it is those two. But they've just, there's just no connection anymore with the fan base, other than, them seeing Eric Grupner at home plate, handing out one of those big checks or congratulating the employee of the month, which is fine. That's what a team president, CEO should be doing. But yeah, it's the old, I couldn't pick John Seidler out of a lineup, even if I were in the police lineup with him. They completely have lost the Peter Seidler spirit. In fact, I covered the Stammen Newser the other day, and I don't recall them saying, citing Peter Seidler's vision. But if they had, somebody should have stood up and said, "Shut up! Peter Seidler's vision is gone. It's sadly it left with him. This, it's I don't know how to describe whether that the rest of the family are just disinterested, don't know how to handle it, but it has not been the same since Peter died."
Well, the way I look at it, and you heard my open, even when you've got both feet in, it's a tough business. It's a tough business. And if you got 1 foot in, 1 foot out, or a toe in, hey, sell the ball club. But with that being said, and you brought it up, and I totally concur, it could get a whole lot worse. I mean, right now it's not going in the right direction. But if you sell to the wrong person, hey, we've seen a lot of other ball clubs that are pinching pennies to put a lot of money in their piggy bank. We could get a whole lot worse here in San Diego than what we've got. Now, how about this story? I got this morning from a great source just before I went on television. Shiel Seidler was made aware of this press release coming out just minutes before it was actually sent out. How about that?
That's pathetic. Not only that, but the fact that she wasn't down there a couple weeks ago or when they unveiled the street sign for Peter Seidler Way.
Well, I got questions about that. Can I stop you real quick before
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
get into that?
I'm not going anywhere, Coach.
That was the weirdest thing in the world. I was told, and you may or may not know about this. First of all, I got nothing in my email box saying that they were going to have this like press briefing and name a street after Peter Seidler. Normally we get all that information from the pod. There was nothing that I received. Maybe you did. I didn't.
Nope. The first I knew about it was somebody who was downtown posted a picture on Twitter of the chairs lined up and said, "Hey, what's going on? What are they going to announce something?"
What I had heard was they started to set up tables and chairs, and the word got out, and they put the tables and chairs away. And then like 2 hours later, they put them back out there. And John Seidler made a speech. The mayor showed up. They had a few people probably come out of the Padre office, in between working and going to lunch. And they had this little to do about the naming of the Peter Seidler street. Nobody knew about it.
Yeah, that was pathetic. I mean, that's a sign that, they clearly tried to just sneak it in. Hey, let's go do this now, get it done. And at some point, that's why you have to question everything, Coach. You have to question, you have to attribute stuff. They said Shield was unavailable or something. Was she really? And it's even more pathetic that the mayor was there and they didn't announce it. It's like, are you kidding? Petco Park was built on the back of San Diegans. San Diegans approved it, and I don't know what the tax thing is, how much public funds went into it versus private, but that
fans would have liked to have been there. There are a lot of fans that would have liked to have come
Petco
down
Park
during
is
lunch and maybe, gone to the ceremony and gone to lunch afterwards. And nobody
right.
knew about it till after it was over.
Yeah, and the Petco Park is sort of the people's house. I mean, people certainly spend a lot of money down there, but it was off, it was wrong. And if that's the way that this group operates, then get out of here. Take your money and go back to Beverly Hills or wherever they're from, Pasadena. It's just, again, that's the what I was talking about. The family atmosphere feel sadly went away when Peter died. It has absolutely not been the same. And, I remember when they named Trevor Hoffman, it was a big to-do. They announced it to us, and people came strolling by. Hey, there's Trevor Hoffman. It's like, and, close a couple streets off. It's a mess down there anyway with traffic and everything, but what's it going to hurt to close those streets off, let some people wander in, announce it to the press, and if it gets out, so be it. It's San Diego. That's a little corner of downtown where if you block a couple streets off, it'll annoy some apartment residents, and maybe some dude carrying a big trash can full of aluminum cans over the trolley might have to hold up for a few minutes. But again, it was wrong, and if that's the way they operate, then see you later.
I think now that this has been announced, I think everybody's running in place until this ownership is gone. They can talk about bringing a world championship here. And you know what? Every team, I think, wants to win a world championship. This team, in my opinion, is starting to go backwards rather than going forwards. And, I think AJ already kind of found that out last winter when, it didn't seem like there was a whole lot of money available for him to go out and get players. I mean, he got Nick Pivetta, and Pivetta had a career year. But he also pulled off those great deals at the trade deadline. He actually saved this organization a lot of money by those deals because a lot of those guys coming in are not making a lot of money, and they're going to be able to pick Laureano's deal up for $6.5 million. And they got a left fielder, they got a catcher that's under control and did a really, really nice job in Fermin. And they got some free agents they have to figure out. But at the end of the day, the farm system is barren because they've traded a lot of guys. And I don't see this ownership while they're waiting to sell. I can't see them spending a lot of money. They want the books to look as good as they possibly can to a new potential owner.
Oh, absolutely. And one sidebar before we go down that road, I love the fact you mentioned that they hired an outside PR firm. That's never a good thing for the locals to hear, that they've hired an outside PR firm. Came up with, and you love press releases with the word strategic. I had to write that down when I was taking notes during your soliloquy. All this corporate word vomit, but when you hire an outside PR firm, that is, I don't want to say it's not good, but it's, that something's up big time when it's like, what's wrong with the team PR staff? Was it a local PR firm? Was it a Beverly Hills PR firm? Are they buying local, supporting a local? There are some good crisis PR firms. Who was it? And of course I believe they spoon fed it to somebody. See, that's the great thing about being retired. I hear about these things when I see it on Twitter.
I think it was spoon fed to somebody. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was from what we hear. And it's like, whatever. But it's just, everything about this has finally been exposed, that they either they don't want it, they can't handle it. And the other problem too, Coach, we've seen some real bad owners here. That you get these unwieldy groups. I think there were like 9 Seidler siblings. I don't know how many of them have been involved in the team, but we harken back to the group of 15 with Tom Werner, and there were some real clowns in that ownership group. A lot of them good businessmen, good local businessmen, but just because you're a businessman and you're smart and savvy in one field does not qualify you to be a pro sports owner. There was one spring training, 91 or 92, when they extended Andy Bennis and he got a nice little bump. And one of the owners supposedly said, "Well, can't we just cut him?" And it's like, sure, you can cut him, but you're still on the hook for his salary. I mean, you have people in there who can run a great business downtown or wherever, but they know nothing about pro sports ownerships. And you look at it seems like the ownership structure of the Padres is complicated and unwieldy. It reminds me of is, remember the late great George Pernicano, who was a minority
absolutely.
owner.
I used to look forward to halftime of every football game to get a Pernicano pizza.
Oh yeah, just a great guy, pugnacious.
He'd walk around the press box. He owned like 5% of the Chargers,
right?
And he'd walk around and talk to us, just like we were on the same team as him. I mean, he treated us so well.
Smoking that smelly, nasty cigar. But he owned about 5%. He hated Spanos. Spanos always tried to buy him out. And George used to, I can't do a Pernicano imitation, but he's just this feisty Italian guy.
Great mustache, though.
Well, great mustache, the whole thing. And he always tell the story. It's like, well, George, how much are your shares worth? And he would scoff, they're not worth anything because they're not for sale. And he kept saying, how can I get it through his head? They are not for sale. And so, God knows how many minority owners there are in this thing and how it plays out. And, that's where, I can keep a scorebook and write a pretty good game story, but the business side of it, I'm a little lacking there.
And let me ask you this, Bernie. If you're Craig Stammen, I got to believe that this group, because everything's double secret with this group, I can't believe that they talked to him when they were trying to talk him into taking this job, because it really sounded like they had to do a sell job to him, okay? Did they tell him that they were planning on selling the team, or did him and his wife find out yesterday when this press release came out? And can you imagine what they're thinking? He's going, heck, by the time spring training, you never know when this team could be sold. Heck, they may want a new manager before the start of the 2026 season if it's a new ownership group.
Yeah, no, that's a good thought. I bet $1 million. I don't have $1 million, but I bet he did not know. They did not. I bet they didn't tell him.
I wonder if AJ Preller even knew.
I at this point, I think we can theorize about anything. I bet neither of them knew. I bet they weren't told. The good thing for Stammen is that he probably came on the cheap, but at least he has a 3-year contract.
And he made good money when he was playing.
Yeah. And so, but the point being, if the new owner comes in and doesn't want him after this year or next year or whatever, if they fire him, at least he could go with a year or two on his contract. If they blow him out, I doubt that they blow him out before he manages the game, but who knows with some of these guys. But if they blow him out after this upcoming season, he's got 2 years on his contract. And I believe he kept a house here. But, it's like we used to joke about Padres hitting coaches, don't buy, rent.
Right.
You're going to get blown out after your first year anyway. Because Stammen seems like a really good dude. And, he talked about how he and his wife prayed and fasted making the decision. Because, when you have 4 little kids, that's a pretty big decision, whether you move them from Ohio to California. And so he's got that hanging over his head. But yeah, you wonder if they were honest enough to tell him, because this had to have been in the works. Because people, even the day, this goes back to the day Shield filed the lawsuit, which I believe was January 6th. It was the day my AP email got cut off because I had taken the buyout and my official retirement was the 3rd. Even that day, people were saying these things never end well. This team is going to end up getting sold.
Absolutely.
So, this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. I guess, if anything, it should be disappointing that here it is. It was a decent run with this ownership group, got some playoffs out of it, got some, big name players, but, it probably could turn into yet another San Diego disappointment.
Well, I'm anxious to see how long it's going to take. And it can, we're going to hear this and that and 38 other things. I thought it was interesting today. Tom Krasovic, I don't know if you saw his article today,
I
but
haven't.
he talked about, maybe Jeff Morad would jump in the
Oh,
fray because
I
he
don't.
just got $5 billion for selling the McLaren racing team. And hey, last time, nothing against Jeff Morad, but he never really owned the ball club. He was kind of trying to buy the ball club. That was kind of a weird time in Padre
He was
history, actually.
trying to buy it on layaway, like you buy a riding lawnmower at Sears. And no, I did not see that. How much did he make for selling the F1 team? Just billion, 5 billion?
Yeah, $5 billion, Tom
Wow.
Krasovic reported in his
Hmm.
column this morning.
I didn't even know Jeffrey S. Morad was a F1 owner, but no, he would absolutely not. He tried and failed once. This team needs a fun, young billionaire owner. It doesn't need a stuffy grouch, who has zero interest in anything other than making money. That's why Peter Seidler was so perfect. And then, of course, maybe there is a San Diego sports curse. He sadly died. But this team needs, and there's so many candidates out there. It just depends on whether they want to separate themselves from 2.5 billion or 3 billion or whatever this thing sells for. But they don't need a guy like Artie Moreno or somebody like that. They don't need Jeffrey S. Morad. They don't need. Unfortunately, it sounds like you need these super groups of owners just to be able to afford it. And if you have to make what do they call it, a margin call, a cash call, when you need 300 million to sign a Manny Machado or somebody. I don't know how those things work, but you hear these buzzwords all the time. But you just hope that for this fan base's sake that they sell it to the right person, because the wrong person, and you're going to get another sustained period of just whatever. Some of these backloaded contracts to guys who are getting old. We don't need to go into depth on that, but there are issues hanging over this team.
Absolutely. And really the only movable contract, and I think everybody in baseball would agree with it, the only movable contract, and he hasn't even been the same player since his injuries and PED suspension, Fernando Tatis Jr., his contract, I think, at this point in time is movable, even though he has a no trade until I think after the 2028 season. You're not moving Machado's contract. You're not moving Bogart's contract. But Fernando would be the one contract that could be moved, I think.
Right. And what you do with a guy who has a no trade, you get together with him and his agent, or maybe just with the agent, and say, how many million more will it cost you to waive your no trade contract? That's how those things work. Because the day they tried to trade Hosmer, the rumor was, well, the agent's on the phone saying, yeah, he'll take that trade, but it's going to cost you X number $1 million to get him out the door. So things can happen, but yeah, there are a lot of issues with this team, and again, it's got to be the right owner. If it's the wrong owner, good luck.
And they were also in the article. It also talked about if Morad was interested. Eric Grupner, who right now is the current CEO, his first 2 years he worked with Jeff Morad. He was here 2 of the 3 years that Morad was here. And so there may be a relationship there, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. I don't know. But Eric Grupner's name keeps coming up in possible trying to put together an ownership group.
You never know, Coach. Going back to Morad, owners back then didn't want him to be the owner of the Padres.
Right. They didn't approve him in 2012. And then they went the road with Peter and Ron Fowler.
Right. And so there might be some, ill feeling still among whatever owners have survived from 2012 who may not approve of another Morad or a Morad ownership after his failed attempt.
Well, it's going to be very interesting, but Bernie, And I know you're not really retired. I mean, I know you retired from the AP, but you're covering baseball, you're covering a variety of different events, you're covering high school football games, you're out and about. And of course, I know where you're going to be on December 5th, that Friday in December. You're going to be at the holiday happy hour up at the Leucadian. Man, we got our guest list is getting pretty good for this year.
Coach, this could be the biggest one. And you know why it'll be the biggest one? Because it's the next one, as Mike
That's
McCoy,
right.
ball coach McCoy would tell me. And actually, tomorrow afternoon, as long as we're not facing biblical rains, I'm going to be up at Line Tree Arena cheering on my beloved Idaho Vandals.
Yeah,
Against
well, I'll be at the courtside. You got to come by. I'm an
I'll
easy guy
come
to
by,
spot.
slap 5, and then my Vandals took a tough loss at the Slim Jim the other night, so I need to bring them across the finish line tomorrow. But yeah, the holiday happy hour is going to be the biggest one yet. So,
And of course, we're going to unfortunately pay tribute to two of our fallen colleagues, Bryce Miller from the Union Tribune and our buddy Scott Miller from a variety of different
right about that.
publications he wrote for. And, a beautiful celebration of life at Petco this past Sunday for Scotty. And we'll definitely honor those two men at the party.
Yeah, and that was really nice of Ron Fowler to host that get together for Scott. I mean, I didn't realize they had such a strong relationship, but Ron's a good man, and it didn't come out until deep into that nice celebration that it was Ron who had put it together. So shout out to Ron Fowler, aka the Sultan of Suds.
Yeah, I'm not sure who let the cat out of the bag. I know he would never do that. He likes to go about things very anonymously.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But it was, yeah. So we'll raise a glass for Scott and our bro Bryce Miller. Well, Scott was a bro too, so we'll have to have I don't know that the good people at the Leucadian are going to want us to actually pour one out, as they say. You pour one out for a lost friend, but we'll just pour them down our throat for those two fine gentlemen.
Yeah, and of course, everyone's welcome. If you're tuning in right now, December 5th, 4 o'clock on at the Leucadian, north end of Leucadia. And, I always tell people, Bernie, you never know who could walk in that front door.
That's why you got to get there early. And, Bud Black is almost always the first bull out of the chute at 4:30. See, I plan my trek from El Cajon. I take the Green Line to Old Town, and then I take the coaster up to Encinitas, and then Uber the rest of the way up. Drive, be responsible. Yeah. So I let the rails of San Diego County be my designated driver. But yeah, you got to get there close to the 4:30 kickoff or 5 o'clock. Sometimes Bud has to leave early, and then other guys wander in the door, and it's like you really never know.
Well, AJ Preller told me he'll be there. I talked to him the other day at the Celebration of Life, and he said, "Man, perfect timing this year. It's before the winter meetings," because he was there last year. He told me, he goes, "Hey, anytime I don't have to go to the winter meetings, I'm coming to that party."
Right. Yeah. So when it butts up against the winter meetings, that's not good. Yeah. AJ was the first guy I told last year that I was taking a buyout and retiring, and he said, "Good." But he was over in the corner. He's a quiet guy. He likes to show up at those things, and he doesn't make himself the center of attention. He was over holding up one corner of the bar, and people were dropping by and saying hi and shaking his hand, and he was making small talk. Yeah, he's a good guy. I mean, if you come out to a dive bar in North County for a party started by scribes and broadcasters, then you're a good dude. You're a bro. So
absolutely. Well, Bernie, we'll keep our finger on the pulse of this story. I'm sure there are going to be a lot of twists and turns, and be very interesting to see what they're able to do in free agency. Again, thank you very much, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow to watch a little afternoon basketball, matinee ball tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of that, other than again, I hope it's not raining too hard. But 1 p.m. at the Lion Tree. It's but probably the Vandals probably have to catch a flight and get back up to Moscow. So I'm guessing
I'm going to try to pull the double dip, something you've done many times. I'm going to go to do the basketball game. I got to finish my game boards this morning, and then after that, I'm going to head over and watch Boise State and the Aztecs tomorrow night at 7:30.
Donkey Tech. I'm gonna be watching that from my recliner, Coach. But anyway, go Vandals.
All right, Bernie. Thanks again for the time, and we'll see you tomorrow.
All right, Coach. Take care.
Bernie Wilson, longtime writer for the Associated Press, now working as a freelancer for the Associated Press, along with doing stuff for the Union Tribune covering high school football. So great to have Bernie on the program today. Hey, we've thrown a lot out there, and I think it's time now we get out to Coach's Crew. Everybody should have an opinion on what's going on with the Padres, what direction they should go. Only thing I can say is I wish somebody I knew had that kind of money that would buy this ball club to where I could actually get involved with this organization in some capacity. I would love to be working on the baseball side. I don't want to be on the business side. I would love to be on the baseball side. I'd love to be the special assistant to the head of baseball operations. And I don't know if that's going to be AJ or not, but I would love to have a say in what goes on with this ball club. On the business side, and I know just from doing what I did with the soccer's business side, man, it's a grind. But I was trying to do both. I was trying to do three things. I was trying to run the business side. I was trying to run the soccer side, and then I was trying to do a talk show 5 nights a week. It was crazy. I did that for 6 years. But you know what? It was great. My time with the soccer was amazing, and we had great success. But whoever comes in here, I hope they're coming in here to win ball games and not just to make money. I realize you want to make money, you don't want to lose money, but the fans of San Diego deserve an owner that's going to have deep pockets and do whatever it takes to try to bring and keep winning baseball here for many, many years. Okay, let's get out to Coach's Crew. I'm sure everybody's got an opinion, and I've tried to throw it out 38 different ways today, and I want your opinion. Preller has been the Padres' best GM since Kevin Towers, and because of him, Padres enjoying a renaissance and success. It'll be a damn shame if the Padres let him go after 2026. I just wonder, because I know that they've been talking to him, and John Seidler saying, oh, we're going to get it done, we're going to get it done. Well, they haven't got it done. And, that may be the biggest legacy John Seidler can have is to re-sign A.J. Preller. Give him a 2-year extension. Match him up with Craig Stammen. Craig Stammen got a 3-year deal. Take A.J. out to 2028. If not, just do it for a thank you. On the way out the door, say, hey, thanks, A.J. Thanks for being a great steward of this organization. Thank you for working so well with my brother. And we want to give you a 2-year contract extension. I don't know if AJ's got to be fit to be tied. And I don't know, like the assistant general managers, I don't know if their contracts need to be renewed or not. I mean, you got a guy like Josh Stein, who's from San Diego. I don't know what his contract status is. But the guy's been here over 20 years. These guys have given everything to this organization, and they're tireless workers. And they deserve to share in the pie. If these owners are going to make a ton of money, they're going to make a ton of money. Make sure that AJ and some of the people that have been loyal to your organization, you take care of them on the way out. And AJ right now has got to be really frustrated because I'm not sure he knew that this was coming down. He may have thought, hey, you know what? In a few years, yeah, it's going to come down. But I knew within 2 to 3 years of Peter's passing, and again, today is 2 years. He passed away on November 14th, 2023. But these guys need to be taken care of. And I'll be anxious to see that if it happens. And if I'm Craig Stammen and his wife, I would be, if I was not told ahead of time that this ownership group was looking to sell, and in 3 days after I'm announced as the new manager, I mean, that's a gut punch. That's a real gut punch. So I agree with you. We had a few guys through here, Josh Burns, Jed Hoyer. There's no doubt AJ is the best guy since Kevin Towers. And the other thing, there's some Kevin Towers in AJ Preller. Just like Bernie was saying, AJ, he doesn't try to be a big shot. He's just a nice guy. He just wants to play a little basketball in the mornings, getting on his phone, taking care of business, working late at night. And I'm sure for some guys he's a pain because he's calling at all hours because he's trying to make the Padres better. But he's doing what a head of baseball operations and general manager is supposed to do. Every day that you're put on the planet, when you're the head of a baseball or basketball or football team, hockey team, soccer team, your job is to try to make that ball club better in some way, shape, or form. And AJ Preller's been that. He's had swings and misses, but show me what general manager hasn't. Okay, nobody's perfect. But he got a pretty good ball club he's put out there right now. But I don't know if he's going to be able to maintain it because I don't think this ownership's going to give him the money to maintain it right now. They're going to want to make the books look as good as they possibly can be. But Retro, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, let's keep them coming. Coach, I don't get the doom and gloom from fans. This is the best outcome Seidler brothers were never going to spend, and I never believed Shield had the financial backing to accomplish her ambitions. I can't speak about Sheil. I don't know who she knows, but obviously the brothers don't. And, we may find out more going forward about, certain things that have happened behind the scenes. I don't know. But I would tell you this, and I think it's time for this group to move on. The Seidler brothers, I think it's time for them to move on, but it could be worse. You could get a group in here like Colorado or Pittsburgh. How would that be? You wouldn't have 43,000 on a Monday and Tuesday night, I'll tell you that right now. So be careful what you wish for, but I do think this group needs to move on. And I would like to see them move on very, very quickly. Okay, so we'll see where it goes, but once you say you're going to be out, you're out. And you're going to be on to your next course in life. And I'm not convinced that this group ever really wanted to be a part of this. I mean, the untimely death of Peter from an infection. Yeah, he had cancer, but he didn't die from cancer. He died from an infection. And but anyways, that's my take on that. He was a great man. I went back last night, and I had gotten a new phone. I had lost a lot of my messages, but I did go back and had a couple of messages just prior to him passing. Last time he passed away on the 14th. And I know he was in the hospital, but he texted me back on November 8th. I had wished him a happy birthday. He said, "Hey, thanks, coach." And I looked at the date. He responded to me on November 8th. We used to text all the time. When I was on talk radio, Peter used to always text me if he heard a segment he liked. He never was critical. Always liked, he always was very complimentary of my work. And, but anyways, he would text me during shows, and he would text me even at night because, he would walk, and it's been pretty much known at night. I don't know if he had insomnia, but he used to walk the streets at night and talk to homeless people. And he would have his headset on, and he would listen to, the ball game if he wasn't at the game, or he would listen to my post game show, and he would text me about a segment he liked or something he wanted me to be aware of. I mean, he's a great man, really good guy. And I think him and I had a really, really nice relationship. I got nothing bad to say about Peter Seidler at all. Okay, let's keep him coming here. What else we got here today? Oh, all right. Preller has probably known about this sale for a while. I don't know. I'm not totally convinced because I've talked to AJ a lot over the last couple of months. In fact, I'll tell you what, I mentioned the other day I had a heart ablation, and I was supposed to go to this Coaching Legends dinner a couple of weeks ago. It would be 2 weeks ago this coming Sunday, and Stephanie Niebla was put in the Coaching Legends, Ruben Niebla's wife. And she coached for 20 years out in the desert and did a great job, and beautiful lady. And Ruben's a great guy. But I was supposed to go, and I just physically was not up to going after the heart ablation. And apparently they announced at the dinner that, I'd had a procedure, and I don't know exactly what they said. But AJ Preller went to the banquet to honor, to be a part of Ruben and Stephanie as award. She was being, inducted in the Coaching Legends Hall of Fame. And AJ Preller went. That's pretty cool, number one. on a Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock down in Coronado. And he finds out that I have a heart ablation. And he texts me, "Hey, coach, are you okay? I just want to check on you." That's pretty cool. There are no other general managers other than Kevin Towers or Bruce Bochy or Buddy Black that would have done that. I can tell you that. So AJ, he's a good guy. He's a real good guy, and he's a guy that enjoys living in San Diego and being a part of the San Diego community. So hopefully he gets that contract extension. How long he'll be the head of baseball operations and general manager if a new ownership comes in, I don't know. But his resume speaks for itself, and he'll be fine one way or the other. But I hope he gets that contract extension. I think he's earned it myself. Okay, well, what else we got today here? All right, Stammen or his agent, you would think was aware of the ongoing ownership drama that has been widely covered, so he had to know things are unstable at the top. He had to have asked what's going on. Well, he may have asked, but he may not have gotten the answer he was looking for. I don't know, man. When you got an opportunity to get back into uniform, and it was a big decision for Craig and his wife because they do have four very young children. And to move from where they were, he's got a place in Coronado. Uh, I know some people, well, don't feel it. Man, he's staying in Colorado. Well, how great is that? Well, it's great. But he's, I think, a man of faith. He's a great family guy. He's a marvelous human being, great teammate, a pro's pro, all those things. Uh, and I hope, if they didn't tell him before he accepted the job, I would certainly hope they would have called him and told him before this press release came out yesterday. But I have no idea. Everything's real secretive with the Padres these days. But you know what? We're always going to get information, folks. We're always going to get information. Thank you very much. Appreciate that question. Okay, what else we got? All right. Free agents allowed to walk, not extending the GM and hiring a cheap manager, all cost-cutting measures done when a team is prepping to be sold. You reduce debt to make it more attractive to buyers. I agree. The one thing that I do want to put the kibosh on, put an end to, I don't want you to say it's a cheap manager because we don't know how much Craig's making. He's probably not making more than $1 million, but it doesn't matter. He's fine financially. He's probably making a pretty good chunk of money doing what he was doing as a special assistant. So, the cheap manager thing, it kind of demeans him. And I don't want to demean him. I want him to prosper. If you're a true Padres fan and you want him to prosper, he's a great guy. He's an easy guy to pull for. He really is. Really good guy to pull for. I pull for good guys. If I think you're a turd, hey, have a nice year, buddy. And, every team has a turd or two on them. But Craig Stammen is anything but a turd. He's a great guy, a great human being. And he's a guy that I think I would love to play for. And I think he would have been a great teammate to have a locker next to. I mean, he's just a marvelous man. He's a caring person. He cares about the guys to the right and left of you more than he cares about himself. He's really that kind of guy. All right, what else we got? Okay, let's get we got coach's mailbag. We've got to get a few of those, then we'll get out of here and let you have a nice weekend. I can't wait for this ownership to go bye-bye. I really can't. What would be your dream trade for Tatis Jr.? I haven't thought about it, but I'd like to get two good pitchers that are affordable and would control for a few years. I like to get some young guys that could be front end rotation guys going forward, or a good middle infielder, another shortstop, young shortstop. I'd like to get about four guys for one for Fernando Tatis Jr., maybe five, depending on who the guys are. That's what I would like. But I haven't thought that far. Padres said they're not trading him. Let me tell you, I don't think he'll finish his career in a Padre uniform. I really don't. And he's under contract with the Padres at 2034. I don't think he'll be here in 2030. He might. You get deep owners that have deep pockets, maybe. But also, I brought it up the other day. And I mean, the stats don't lie, folks. His first 3 years, one of the best players in baseball. The injuries, the PED suspension, He hadn't anywhere been close to the same player. I'm not going to say he's a mediocre player. He's better than mediocre, but he's not the star player that he once was. Least of all the last 3 years. Can he recoup that? I don't know. He's still young enough. He ought to be able to, but the numbers don't lie. And you can take a look at them for yourself. Okay, what else we got today? All right, Mary Sue, is there any chance they will leave San Diego? Or are they're here for good? Mary Sue, don't worry about that. I mentioned it early in the show. They're not going anywhere. They're number one. San Diego is a great destination for a lot of people to come and watch baseball. We got one of the most beautiful ballparks in all of baseball. We got a tremendous fan base that loyal that are paying huge ticket prices, but they continue to come out. And I think with new ownership, the thing that I would say, and I can't speak on the baseball side, but the Padres organization used to be really community friendly. They're community friendly now when they need to be, but it's not a genuine thing day in and day out. The old Padre guard used to be much more friendly and do things out in the community. Now everything is strategically done. So I think a new group coming in on the business side, ownership side, would behoove this organization a great deal. That's my take on that. Okay, what else we got? Okay, that's going to do it. Again, I would ask you to subscribe to the channel, like it, send in your comments. Again, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 a.m. And we're going to continue to tell the truth. That's what this show's all about, man. We're going to tell the truth. We're not going to sit here and sugarcoat things. Whether people like it or not doesn't matter. I don't have to, I'm my own boss these days. And like I said in the radio bit, nobody ever told me what I could or couldn't say. Maybe that's why I'm doing YouTube, and that's fine. It worked out very, very well for me. But at the end of the day, I believe what is right and what is wrong, and I'm always going to be honest with you. And I've always been that way on the air. Until Monday morning at 9 a.m., have a great weekend, everyone. Try to stay dry, and we'll work on some more information for Monday's program. Be safe. Bye-bye.